thank you everybody for being here today. This is great. The whole crew is here.
And early.
And early. Oh yes. Thank you for attending this rainy day. Rain is not a problem for anybody here. That's because we are going to learn a lot about how the new commissioner of the Department of Sanitation, Jessica Tisch, her plan to clean New York City once and for all. Every day. Because we keep trashing. Once you clean, we keep trashing. That's the issue, but you have the plan. You got it under control. Okay, so Iseo is here?
I think so coming down.
Yeah. Okay, let's start because welcome everybody. As you know, I'm Jose Bayona, the director of the Mayor's Office of Ethnic and Community Media. So this is a series of roundtables, conversations. I call them conversations with the community and ethnic media of the city, where we have been introducing the commissioners for each agency. And today we have the pleasure to introduce you to Commissioner Jessica Tisch. I want the commissioner, before we start the conversation, after her words, so to give us background, because Commissioner Tisch is not new to the city. She has a long career in the city, which now that I know her more, I'm proud to be working with her. We're gonna continue working because all the experience that the commissioner brings into the sanitation department from the NYPD, from the Do It, and also the vaccination operation that we had in the last few years. She will talk more about that, and you will see how this agency now is in great hands. Commissioner?
Thank you so much, Jose. So I thought what we would do today is I'll just speak somewhat briefly, and I really want to make sure that I have time to get all of your questions. I will answer as many of them on the spot as I can. And then anything that I can't answer here, we promise we will follow up with you very quickly, and Josh will help me do that follow-up. So if you don't get an answer here, there will be one coming quickly. I also want to let you know, I said this downstairs, but this is the first real sit down interview I've done with a group of reporters. I've done a few one-on-ones, but this is the first real media event that we've planned that's sort of separate from an announcement. And we're doing it with the community and ethnic media first. And I hope that shows you as a sign of how important it is to me and to this department, and frankly to this administration, to work with our communities, to understand what our communities' issues are, and to work as partners with our communities to address them. So please see that as a sign of what's to come. I thought I would start by telling you just a little bit about myself and my background, and then do a little bit on vision for the sanitation department. So as Jose said, my name is Jessica Tisch. I generally go by Jessie. I have worked for the city for almost 15 years. The first 12 plus were at the NYPD. I was hired as an intelligence analyst. And I worked my way up. I had several jobs there, but I worked my way up to being Deputy Commissioner of IT at the NYPD, where I oversaw both IT, like all the technology at the police department, and also I oversaw 911 operations. So the fabulous women and men who answer the phone when people call 911, those are all NYPD employees. And then the people who dispatch those jobs out to the cops in the field. After I left the NYPD, I went to be the commissioner of an agency called the Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications. I started that job right before the pandemic. And I like to say I showed up there and then, a few weeks later it was like, pandemic, surprise, everything has to go online. It was incredible timing to take the job of tech leader in the city. So because of those circumstances, most of my time as the tech head in New York City was spent on COVID-related stuff. So a lot of pandemic response. Among the things that I worked on in that job were the contact tracing system for the city and standing up the test and trace organization and building out that system. The Get Food program and standing up the system that powered the routing for that and the signups for that. And also obviously the vaccine management system. You know, in New York City, when vaccines first became available, we had a really slow rollout of vaccines in the first week or two. And then I was called in to overhaul the way people sign up for and get vaccines in New York City. So that was like, I would say in the middle of January. And what we did there, and I'll get to sanitation very soon, I promise. But what we did there is there were so many different websites to go to. You know, each clinic that was providing vaccinations had its own website. And so people had to go to dozens of different websites to look for an appointment. So what we did in January was we consolidated thousands of different clinics onto one vaccine sign-up system. So there was one place New Yorkers could go to see thousands of different clinics and hundreds of thousands of different appointments. And we really tried to streamline for New Yorkers the process of signing up for and getting a vaccination. And the other thing I'll tell you about that effort was that vaccine system, the part that New Yorkers saw was the sign-up part. But that system really powered the operations at the clinics. So it was really end-to-end, everything from when the New Yorker signed up for an initial vaccination through to when they showed up to the clinic and they got checked in. Their vaccination was then recorded in that system and sent to our city's immunization registry. So the past 2 years have been tech and pandemic. I also, in that job during the pandemic, oversaw the 311 system and the operations of the 311 call center. And in that job, I had a wonderful opportunity to work with virtually every single agency in New York City, among them the Department of Sanitation. That's a little bit about me and my career. I'll say on a personal level, I live in Manhattan. I have 2 sons. They are 10 and now 7. I think the main secrets to any success that I have had in my career have been a few really simple things. Hard work, smart work, real joy in my work. I really love what I do. My work is very important to me. And I have deep admiration generally for the people who do the work alongside of me. Some of my closest personal friends are the people that I've met through my work in city government, both at the police department as well as at the Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications. All right, so moving to sanitation. So I am now 2 weeks on the job. I've spent the past 2 weeks almost every morning going at 5:30 in the morning to garages around the city. My first week I went every single day. I wanted to hit all 5 boroughs, and I did. At those garages, why the early hour? So our morning shift starts at 6 a.m. and that's when the sanitation workers get in their trucks and they do like the bulk of their collection routes starting at 6 a.m. So I'd show up at 5:30 and shook hands with every sanitation worker in each of the garages, made some remarks to them, sort of like I'm doing right now, just to give them a general sense of myself. And I have really, really enjoyed over the past 2 weeks getting out into the field and meeting the people, the men and women who do this important work for New Yorkers. They do so much more than clean the streets. They do so much more than make the black bags go away. They are public servants in the truest sense of the word, and they are really part of the lifeblood of this city. And one of the things that I want to do is to help New Yorkers realize and appreciate it. So I think one of the things that this department struggles with is when New Yorkers see a sanitation truck, they think, oh, I'm stuck behind a truck. They don't think about the men and women who are doing the work, how physically strenuous that work is, and really the dignity of the work that they do. And so one of the things that I want to do as commissioner is to communicate their story to New Yorkers, because it is very honorable work. So the first 2 weeks have really been spent out in the field, getting to know everyone, getting to see the operations, learning about all the trucks and the fleet that we just showed you. I'll also say, and this is part of my background, I am a lawyer. I went to law school. And I have a business degree, so I went to law school and business school before I joined the city. And I think that positions me perfectly, really, to fight for this agency and to help get things done. I am a get things done, or as the mayor said, get stuff done kind of person and kind of leader, and I want to get stuff done for New Yorkers. So what do I want to do? Two big areas. The first is cleanliness. I think that all New Yorkers have seen and experienced that the city is meaningfully less clean post-pandemic than it was pre-pandemic. And I believe that one of the most important things that the city needs to do now is to clean up our streets, to give all New Yorkers in every neighborhood and in every community the dignity of a clean living environment. And if not for the residents, then certainly also for tourism, because people come to the city and they want to come back if the city is clean. And I am going to place a very heavy emphasis on restoring the cleanliness of our neighborhoods and communities that I think that New Yorkers deserve. And I also want to say that this is very much in keeping with and central to the mayor's mission of bringing New York City back. You can't bring New York City back if the streets don't look good. So what he's charged me with is, among the things he's charged me with, is really cleaning up our neighborhoods. I told you that my work is very important to me personally, and I commit to you and I commit to every New Yorker that cleaning up the city is going to be my obsession. The other big piece of this, and we can get more into like the different initiatives that we have planned, but the other big piece of the job, in addition to restoring the cleanliness we need today, is to do the critical work and make the commitments we need to make to securing our collective future. And that's really our work around sustainability. I think in that area, things that we have to do is make our compost collection both effective and cost effective. We have to push harder on extended producer responsibility. So while I know we're talking about cleanliness today, I want it to be very clear that the work around sustainability, which we can have future conversations about, is also very important to me and central to the mission of the Sanitation Department. I'll just give you two cleanliness initiatives that we've sort of been talking about now. There's obviously more to come. The first really important one that I want your readers to know about is around alternate side parking. So on my first day on the job, we announced that we were restoring alternate side parking to pre-pandemic levels. So just to give you the history on it, at the beginning of the pandemic, alternate side parking was cut back in most places that have it to once a week. And what that did was it sidelined the most effective clean streets tool that we have in our arsenal, which is the mechanical broom. And even though alternate side parking by policy was only cut in half, which is a lot, in practice, it was more than cut in half. And the reason why is many New Yorkers looked at a once in a while alternate side parking ticket as just the cost of doing business. And so in practice, they weren't moving their cars as frequently as they had pre-pandemic, when they had to move their cars more frequently, if that makes sense. And so the pandemic-related measure took a real toll on the cleanliness of neighborhoods and communities across the city. And that was why on my first day, I was actually very proud to announce that we were restoring alternate side parking to pre-pandemic levels effective July 5th. Now, many people will ask, well, why are you waiting until July 5th if it's so important? Why don't you just start now? And I want to be really clear that the delay, or not delay, but the decision to start on July 5th was a conscious one. And that's because we need to educate New Yorkers about it. I am frankly desperate for you to write about this and talk about this, and for people in our communities and our neighborhoods to know and understand this, because I don't want anyone to be surprised starting on July 5th and say, oh, I didn't know I had to move my car. It's very important to get the message out there and for people to understand it. Now, I understand it is a pain to move the car, but I know that the city needs it. Everyone needs and wants clean streets, and the restoration of this important street sweeping is going to be fundamental to that. The other initiative that I wanted to talk about today is our Clean Curbs program. And what our Clean Curbs program is basically ways to look at containerization of trash on the street. So some people call it the 5 o'clock shadow, when homeowners and businesses put the garbage bags on the street, and you almost have to play a game of hopscotch and navigate around the big mountains of trash that we have on the street. That both does not look good. It also attracts rats. And New Yorkers keep talking about, and I have experienced myself, just the huge problem that we have had with rats that has intensified for sure during the pandemic. And containerization of trash, getting those bags off of the curbs, will both address cleanliness and the rat situation. And so I know it's something that the city has talked about for a long time, like containerization of trash on the streets. Now it's time to act. But I also want to be really clear that it's really hard. I mean, if you just think about it, things like weatherization, making sure that the containers work the containers work in all seasons, what you do with snow, what happens when it rains, like those types of issues. Other types of issues are sizing, like how big do the containers need to be? In some neighborhoods, they'll need to be smaller than in other neighborhoods. So it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all approach. It has to be very much customized and tailored to the needs of not only each neighborhood, but frankly, like each street. But we know it's doable. Other cities around the world, I was just speaking with one of your colleagues, other cities around the world have done this. It's not an unsolved problem. Like, go to Barcelona, right? They have containerized their waste, and the city and all residents benefit from that. And actually, next week on Monday, I think, Jose and I are speaking to the people who run waste management in Barcelona. Last week we announced our first container that was on the street. We did it in Times Square, and I joked with the team, like, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. We're going to learn from it. The mayor has announced an investment in the containerization program for us to pilot this year containers in all 5 boroughs of the city. I'm interested in not just doing commercial, residential, working with bids, but containerization is going to be a place of real focus. And again, it's being done to invest in the cleanliness of the city across all five boroughs. I will just end my remarks by saying sort of where I began, by saying that I am looking forward to working with all of you and all of the communities in the city that you represent. Community affairs is going to be a real focus of the sanitation department under my leadership, and we're tossing around some ideas now for how to really make that central to the work of the department. There are many issues in New York City that are global issues, but many, many, many more that are specific to communities. And unless we understand, and if we don't understand and see those issues, we will never solve them. And so my first several weeks in the sanitation department, what I am looking forward to doing now that I've gone around and shaken hands and met the workforce, is really getting out into the communities and seeing and understanding what the specific problems are. And then I promise you my obsession will be solving them. So happy to take any questions you have.
So, okay, we are gonna do, as you know, we have high number of reporters here. We're gonna do one question, and if we have time, we do a second round. So, but first, thank you for those great remarks.
Thanks, Jose.
Because you lay out, and I'm sure you answer many questions that people, the reporters had here. Say, I'm gonna ask about this, about that, but you answer some of them. So let's start with Isil.
Thank you, Campbell, after Carla. Thank you again for taking the time to meet with us. So you spoke about alternate side parking.
Yes.
And I was talking to some of our residents, and they were surprised that the city was going back to the previous one. Have you thought about another strategy? Because parking is a big problem in the city, and having to move your car 4 times a week is time consuming, and people are not really happy about it.
Yes, I'm going to answer your question with a very interesting fact, but I just want to, where's Josh? Sorry, Josh. I want to fact check it. How many pounds is one? No. How many pounds is one broom?
They can generally come back with 1,500 pounds.
Okay. I said that the mechanical broom was the most powerful clean streets tool that we have in our arsenal. And I think that people don't fully appreciate or understand that and what it does. On any one shift, one mechanical broom can come back with 1,500 pounds of litter from the streets. So people see the broom, and the cars moving around, but they don't realize, many of them don't realize, that it sucks everything up that's on the streets and pulls up, on a normal day, 1,500 pounds of trash from our streets. And so your question was, have I considered other options? This is the best and most effective option that we have, and we need to do the best and most effective thing. And while I realize the pain it causes New Yorkers to have to move the car twice a day, Right now, I cannot sideline the best option that we have. It doesn't mean that I can't, hopefully I'll be in this job for a while, it doesn't mean that I can't look for other options, but this problem is an immediate problem. It is a now problem, and this is the way to really like make a huge dent now.
Okay. So, and remember that day, July 5th.
July 5th.
July
By
5th.
now I meant July 5th.
Everybody remember, July 5th. New York One Noticias.
Hi, thank you for your time. Good morning. I'm going to talk specifically about Jackson Heights and Corona, Queens. Roosevelt Avenue, I mean the garbage there, tons of garbage. What are the plans focusing on the trash there, the cleaning of those streets specifically in a community of Latinos mainly? And another thing, part of the question, you talked about composting before. And what are the plans to promote composting in the Latino barrios or neighborhoods?
Let's do one at a time. I'm going to do your other one first. Let me answer the Jackson Heights question. I know that the street vendors and the trash that some street vendors create and then leave behind is a huge issue in Jackson Heights. And so one of the things that we are going to do is work with the agency that licenses the street vendors, which is called DCWP, work very closely with DCWP to address any issues that are brought to our attention. But the other thing that we have to do is, like, the sanitation department has a whole enforcement unit, and we really need to be enforcing the rules around leaving trash on the street, not just for street vendors, but for all businesses and frankly, like for all residents. But it is unacceptable to me for anyone, among them street vendors, to leave behind their trash for residents and New Yorkers to, hopscotch around. They are required by law to remove that trash, and our enforcement agents are going to be out there making sure that they do that. And they have many different options for removing the trash. They can take it themselves off-site at the end of the day, but they can also work with a commercial carter or private carter to remove it, and that's what's required. And our enforcement teams need to be out there working on behalf of New Yorkers to address these types of issues.
Finally,
She had one more, sorry.
No, it's only one. Let me just go.
I will get to
okay?
composting.
El Hari.
Yeah, how you doing? My name is El Haji from Snowflake Radio. It's a pleasure being here.
Nice to see you.
The Sanitation Department is one of those bodies that we respect. Imagine not having people doing that kind of work. What should be?
Actually, it's unimaginable.
There you go. So the question now is this. For many years, people have been questioning about different neighborhoods, like 5 neighborhoods that we know in New York, 5 boroughs. And people are saying certain boroughs get cleaner than the others. The example they mostly give is snow days. You see that some neighborhoods get snow quickly than other neighborhoods. So the question is that fact? Or what's
The question
most
is
of the-
inequality.
the thing is, and they said the worst neighborhood is the Bronx. I used to live there, now I live in Harlem. Thank you.
Okay, so I think it's very clear from my remarks that I am committed to serving every neighborhood and every borough of this city, and that equity is not only fundamental to the work of this administration, it is going to be fundamental to my work. I want to talk a little bit about my background and where I think that it might get at an answer to your question, which is I have a tech background. I look at data and I work with data scientists. That's part of a very important part of my background. So one of the things we're going to be doing is really looking at all of the data that this department collects. But not just this department, but also the 311 system. I told you I ran 311. Where are there the most complaints about overflowing litter baskets? Where are there the most complaints about miscollections? And then work to align the resources accordingly. we have the data, we just need to look at it and have that inform our operations. I am a data-driven person, and I believe that if you align your operations around the data, you actually make an impact. And so that's how we're going to address it. And the same would apply, of course, to snow. And I'm really looking forward to rolling up my sleeves and getting into all of the data that this department has so that you see and feel a difference.
So a call to action would be calling 311 for the communities?
Oh yeah, that's a great point, Jose. Yes, if residents see something on the streets that they want New York City to resolve, they should call 311. It also happens to help us if they do that, not just in their response to that incident, but in shaping our overall operations.
Okay, Univision?
Okay, Commissioner, I have so many questions that I want to be here 2 hours.
Yeah, but only
okay.
one.
First of all, I think you're going to be our major material. I see major material. So, besides that, okay, there's so many things, but one that I think is important for our community is, I know you need people. Are you going to hire more people? I know you lost a lot of people during the pandemic. Is jobs here for our community?
So yes, the department actually hired 1,000 people last summer, and this summer we're hiring another class of sanitation workers. We usually do it in the summertime so that we're ready and in full force for the winter snow. But the pause on hiring city workers that had been in effect during the pandemic is not applying to the sanitation workers in this summer's class, and we are committed to hiring. And I think the department is stronger if the more diversity that we have. And that's one of the things we started to see a change in the department over, the past several years, is the department is becoming more diverse. The more diversity we can get, the stronger we will be. And so we are looking forward to hiring a class this summer of sanitation workers.
Monica?
Yes, thank you so much for doing this, of course. And I want to ask about the issue of sanitation.
So identify yourself.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Monica Adamski, I'm Radio Rampa. I represent Polish community in New York. So the question, our studio is in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, and I want to ask you about the cleanliness and any plans you have for also tackling homelessness with regards to what's going on with homeless encampments. We've in Greenpoint seen some under BQE. One was recently cleaned up. This was a big issue for the community. But we see these encampments around the city, and with this we don't know who to call to even clean up after people leave.
Okay, so
what happens?
I can answer. Let me answer the second part of that first, and then I'll go back to the first part of your question. So who to call is straightforward. Call 311. The mayor has been very public with his interagency efforts to address encampments. And so the way that New Yorkers should report that type of thing is through the 311 system, and the 311 call takers are very experienced and know what questions to ask and how to relay that information to the agencies. As to the broader general question, I think that every New Yorker deserves the dignity of a home, and every New Yorker deserves the dignity of a clean street. And so the encampment work that we're doing, both cleaning up the encampments, but also getting New Yorkers who experience homelessness the services that they need, is important work. And it's work that has to happen.
Okay. Rick?
Yeah, Rick O'Connor, Roosevelt Islander. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the curbside composting program, and also as it applies to Roosevelt Island. There's a very active composting community on Roosevelt Island, and we have a weekly food scrap drop-off site. And what happens with the food scraps is it's taken to Long Island City to the big reuse facility underneath the Queensboro Bridge. Except there's a danger of that facility being evicted from their site because the Parks Department wants to take it over.
Yeah.
And if they are evicted, then Roosevelt Island, Western Queens, and a lot of portions of Brooklyn are not going to have a place to send their food scraps. So do you have any comment or any?
I do. First on the organics, curbside organics collection program generally. As I said in my remarks, the work that we have to do around securing our collective future, the work we have to do around sustainability couldn't be more important. But we also, we also know that any organics collection program we put out has to be both effective and cost effective. And so we can't have trucks doing collections that come back, you know, mostly empty. And so what we're doing now in my first weeks and months as commissioner is designing an organics program that will be both effective and cost effective. There is a way to do it. And so we're looking through all of the data that we have on the programs that have existed and the more limited program that exists now. And we're going to design a new program based on the lessons learned and what the data tells us. There are a lot of different levers that we can pull to make it work, but like my focus now as it relates to organics is designing a program that is both effective and cost effective. And what that really means is one that New Yorkers use. As to the question about big reuse and the Parks Department, I had a briefing on a few issues related to relocations the other day, so I don't want to misspeak and confuse big reuse with another one. What's that?
We have the alternate site for them in Greenpoint.
Right. So we have an alternate site for big reuse in Greenpoint, and we are not going to let the community that has been served by that location go unserved.
Is that the existing site in Greenpoint you're talking
So
about?
they have the site in Long Island City now, and we have space in Greenpoint where if they lose the Long Island City site, they can come to Greenpoint. So this is all sort of in flux, but big reuse will be taken care of.
Well, I am 100% committed to taking care of big reuse.
José Zavala al día. José, por favor, me ayuda a la traducción de esta pregunta, que quiero que la comunidad la sepa en español.
Sí.
Comisionada, ¿están trabajando ustedes con otras agencias de la ciudad con relación a remover los stands sin uso frente a los restaurantes?
Okay.
I think I took
Oh,
a little
so hold
Spanish.
On, hold on. I want to say this. I want you to know that the commissioner understands Spanish at a high level.
Okay, but just this is the restaurants.
Yeah, the stands in front of the restaurants because
I got you.
they're empty.
I got you. Thank you, Senora España. Okay, that was my Spanish teacher. The outdoor dining sheds.
Yes.
Restaurants are required under city law to operate like other businesses and put their trash out at a certain time, whether that is generated indoors or outdoors, but just throwing and leaving trash bags next to outdoor dining sheds is not acceptable.
So, déjame traducirlo para que estemos claros en esto. Los restaurantes de la ciudad de Nueva York están requeridos por ley a colocar la basura afuera a una hora específica. Y eso no significa de que lo tengan que hacer a otras horas.
So this is a question of enforcement. There are rules and laws on the books that prohibit the condition that you are describing. And so our enforcement teams in the city have to and will address it.
Okay, yes, los...
That wasn't his
Sí.
Oh,
Con relación a los nuevos
Sí,
restaurantes.
ya vamos para
externos.
allá, pero esto es importante de clarificarlo. El Departamento de Enforcement de refuerza las leyes en el Departamento de Sanidad va a estar vigilando esta situación. Pero also about the kiosk in front of the restaurants, the ones that DOT has built.
Yeah.
And now some of them are empty. So, but yo creo que es una pregunta para
To
DOT.
DOT. That's a
Ya,
question for the
Departamento-
Department of Transportation.
Departamento de Transporte, porque ellos son los encargados de los kioscos. Pero creo que es importante lo que tú dices de la basura que se coloca al lado porque se ve mal. Si el kiosco estuviera limpio, no tendríamos este problema, pero la basura es lo que lo hace un poco difícil. Greg.
Greg McQueen from Manhattan Times. I was wondering if you could give an update on how the smart bin pilots are going, and are there plans to expand those to other communities in the city?
Yeah. The smart bins are fabulous. We are having huge success it's in Astoria. Yeah, we're having huge success in Astoria with our limited smart bin program. We have like 25 or 26 of them out on the streets now. And that's a very localized approach, which I love, meaning not just one in every neighborhood, like put a bunch of them in Astoria so you don't have to walk 20 blocks to get to a smart bin, and it's showing that people are actually using them. And so this year in the mayor's executive budget, they actually made a big investment in smart bins, and so that we can roll out, I think they funded 100 more, which we're going to start to roll out. One of the things that we were toying with was putting the 100 new smart bins in right by schools, which I understand is a different approach than what we've done in Astoria. But schools are a place where parents go, lots of New Yorkers go and pass by. They're generally very central to the community. And so the question is, like, get our bang for our buck, like spread the love, and then hopefully build out, going forward after that, clusters in neighborhoods.
In addition to Astoria, there's a few in Lower Manhattan as well?
Yeah, I think there's, yeah.
Coach, do you have the same follow-up for the same question or not? Good, right? Okay, Coach.
Hi, Commissioner. Thank you for inviting us. My name is Kaushik Ahmed. I publish a weekly Bengali newspaper for Untitled.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. My question is, if we say New York City is one of the dirtiest cities amongst the big cities, I think it is because of the people of the city, because of the small businesses of the city. But we never saw this Department of Sanitation is doing an awareness program to just aware the people. My question is, do you have any plan to do that awareness program?
We do, and actually I was talking to my good friend Jose the other day about making sure that we do a big push in community and ethnic media for a public awareness campaign, because, you know, part of what you said is so true. New Yorkers need to do their part. Like, one of the big issues that affects some of the most underserved communities in the city, illegal dumping, is when businesses take their trash and they dump it in a lot or whatever, rather than doing the right thing, what they're supposed to do, and getting a commercial carter to come and take their waste away. They just dump it in a community. We see this a lot in East New York. We see this a lot at Hunts Point. New York, that is a theft of public space, by the way. It is not okay and against the law. But you're right, New Yorkers need to do their part. The sanitation department needs to do their part, and New Yorkers need to do their part. And public awareness is a key part of it, and I do believe that public awareness around these issues is one of the things that has been lacking of late. I don't remember the last Clean Streets public awareness campaign. I don't.
Can I follow up?
Yeah. One. Queens Latino.
Yeah, I'm Javier Castaño from Queen Latino. I don't even know how to place this question. Some of the newspapers here have boxes to distribute our publication. And I even lost one box of Roosevelt Avenue and 103, which is the sanitation. I believe it was because of a combination. Yeah, it's because of a combination of what she asked. We see street vendors. People have some garbage and they cannot throw it away because there are not enough baskets, or they are full. The street vendor just put all these black bags on top of our boxes. So it's very uncomfortable, but also some the businesses are putting the merchandise on the street or on the sidewalk. If you sell furniture, it's there to display. So how are you going to deal with that after the pandemic? Because it's also a delicate situation because people who street vendors, they have kind of the right to survive.
So, few things. First, overflowing litter baskets is a problem, and it affects the cleanliness of this city. This year, post-pandemic, this agency has gotten more money for addressing overflowing litter baskets. That's litter basket collection. I think most New Yorkers want to do the right thing. The vast majority of New Yorkers want to do the right thing, and they want to not litter. They want to put their trash in a basket. So one piece of this is more money has gone into litter baskets in the past several months. The other piece of this is people can't put their residential trash in a litter basket. When you do that, you take up the litter basket and make it so that other people cannot use it. The litter baskets are not for residential or commercial trash, period. And so back to the issue of public awareness, we need to get that message out there. Like in the past 2 weeks, one of my new obsessions is like walking around taking pictures of misuse of litter baskets. I took one which we put on litter. It was actually quite beautiful. But a florist had put all of their, it looked like a vase, all of their flowers in it, which was, again, beautiful, but no one else could use the litter basket. And so misuse of litter baskets is a big deal. I don't know how that gets, though, to your question. Didn't really understand your question around.
I can add to that also.
Is how to deal with all these problems. Because let's say that you saw that you're not supposed to do that. Where or how that person can throw away that garbage?
It's a few things. One is the money that's been put into increasing the frequency of pickups of litter baskets. Second thing is around awareness. As we're talking about public awareness, don't remember the last Clean Streets public awareness campaign that we've had. Did I say enforcement yet? No. The third is around enforcement, around making sure that people aren't misusing litter baskets, one, and two, making sure that businesses aren't just leaving their trash wherever. Businesses are required to dispose of their trash. And what that means is many of them, most of them, hire private carters to come and pick up their trash. Most of the private carters operate overnight, so you're supposed to set it out like late in the afternoon and then have the private carter come and pick it up. If they're just dumping it there and hoping, oh, the sanitation department will come and pick this up, that's creating the problem. So we need to do more enforcement there.
Also, I just want to add to that that some of you, I have received this information that get tickets on the boxes, but remember that is the Department of Transportation. So they are the ones who come and see the location of the box is off. So DOT are the ones who provide those tickets. It's not sanitation. So I'm sure Commissioner Tisch is going to work with Commissioner Rodriguez on that issue and to see, because Commissioner Rodriguez has a plan. We talked recently about this. He has a plan that he's working on to see how we can solve the situation. Mansour?
Thank you very much. My name is Mansour Hussain and I work with the team that is Tribeca. My question is that what vision, because you're leading a new agency, claiming the capital of the world, what's your vision?
I like the way you said that.
Yeah, what's your vision? Like, what's your vision for the city? Because I know that GSMY is doing their best, but what's your vision? The city is not looking like that much creativity. And what was your challenge with COVID-19 your agency was facing? And the volume of the waste every week, what kind of size of volume you guys collect?
The volume's wild. It's every day we collect 23 million pounds of residential trash. That means every day, residences, just people's homes, New Yorkers put out 23 million pounds of trash on the curbs. Residential is only, just to give you context, half of the trash in New York City. So half is residential, half is commercial. So that means every day in New York City, 46 million pounds of trash are put out on the curb. Okay, so if anyone didn't appreciate the work of the sanitation department, now you do. Okay, and my vision generally, as I think I discussed, is cleaning up this city post-pandemic, making the streets feel clean and inviting for New Yorkers, giving people the dignity of a clean neighborhood.
Hello, Commissioner. I'm Ethan Lin from the Interconnects Chinese representation. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
I just want to continue the college community reporter's question because earlier this year, I think the city has proposed agent task force to deal with the street can problem. So I would like to confirm that if when you are in the office, if the program will continue or the community only can call 311 to deal with the street can.
Okay, so let me explain how 311 works. 311, which I love.
And you know about that. I love
311 is the number to call when you need a service or want to make a complaint or make the city aware of something. So you call 311 and then 311 sends that complaint to the right agency. So on encampments, there are three main agencies that work on those issues. And it's an interagency task force. So that is NYPD, Sanitation, and the Department of Social Services. And so when someone makes a complaint about an encampment, those three agencies, that interagency task force, get that and they address those issues together, both in getting the people the services that they need and cleaning up the streets. And so yes, under my leadership, the Department of Sanitation will continue to participate and continue its important work in that interagency task force, because I fundamentally believe that every New Yorker deserves the dignity of a home and every New Yorker deserves the dignity of a clean street.
Thank you so much.
We have time for a few more questions. Somebody who hasn't, one here.
Luis Martinez, Primera Línea. Following up with the question of the colleague about awareness program, you might hire 1,000 more workers, buy new brushes, but if you don't educate people, what plan do you have in that?
So this is where we're going to put Jose to work.
That was one of the first commitments that we
Yes.
took. At the day you were announced as a commissioner, I say, this is what we're gonna do. I'm sorry, but I have to push for this because it's really important, really, really important, that part.
Yep.
So let me just, so we are gonna start the conversations where we, on the sanitation department leadership, so we are gonna plan this campaign. It's gonna take us a few weeks, a few months, hopefully not too much, but the mayor is aware that the message that we need to put out is not gonna be on mainstream media only, because to be clear, New Yorkers from the 5 boroughs, from all the communities, they read your outlets, they go to you, so we need to go to you to do that. But a commitment that we made today on my office is that we are gonna work on this campaign and we are gonna put that campaign, and it's not gonna be only one campaign, we're gonna continue with many agencies doing this on a continuous basis for this, okay?
That was my question, but I have to take another one. As you said, you are part of the police department and working there. Will be the police department helping you to enforce people like throwing garbage in the street, from the car to the curb?
You know, little known fact, the sanitation department has its own enforcement unit. And I think that it's going to be the work of, obviously there are a lot of issues that involve interagency, work, but I think the sanitation department's enforcement unit is sized to address these issues. And what you need to do is just do like targeted campaigns. So like if the big issue in one community is illegal dumping, then you do your enforcement in that community around illegal dumping. You just have to use your resources wisely.
Okay, one more last.
Okay.
The last two, the ladies.
So let me go back to composting. When it comes to promoting, mitigating like the composting plans in New York City, and specifically in boroughs that where minorities live. Grow NYC, which is a non-for-profit that created composting in 2011 in Queens. Right now, only 17% of the waste that we have in the city is what we recycle. Mm-hmm. And composting is so important for sustainability. Yeah. What is the plan in terms of promoting so that people can understand what can that give and bring for the city?
I think you're also getting at the issue we just discussed around public awareness. So there has to be public awareness campaigns, both around clean streets, but also around sustainability. Because at this point, I don't think New Yorkers can keep track of all the different things that we're doing. We need to tell New Yorkers about the orange bins. We need to be able to communicate clearly and effectively what our plans are for curbside organics as soon as we have them. And that is a big factor that will determine the success of any of these programs, is getting the message out there.
Yeah, Riverdale first.
Hi, my name is Stacey from Riverdale Press. Welcome to the Department.
Thank you, Stacey.
So I want to know two things. How much is being spent, like part of the budget? And you also said you went to the boroughs, and we're in the Bronx. Have you seen, and we're very small, my community, we're very small. So have you heard the community speak out about all these topics?
So the sanitation department's budget is just a little shy of $2 billion a year. And what I said about visiting the communities is that I've spent the past 2 weeks meeting everyone in the agency, or not everyone, but a lot of people. I've shaken a lot of hands in the agency. And now, going forward, the attention is going to be on getting to understand and see firsthand the issues in each of the communities. That will take time. There's just so many of them. So I have not yet been to the part of the Bronx that you're addressing, but I'm looking forward to getting out there. And also, importantly, because it can't just be me, in orienting the New York City Department of Sanitation around community affairs. Because there are garages in so many neighborhoods in this city. Why isn't there a community affairs officer in every garage, right? It's just the perfect opportunity, like the way that the agency works and is structured around communities, to really like dig into and understand and then solve very local community issues. So you will see me pushing the department in a more community affairs oriented way.
Okay, Judy is the last one here from the Asian media.
Hi, I'm Catherine from Roundtable. Just curious, what your son's reaction to
Your son's reactions.
Oh.
About that. So this is a great question to end the roundtable. What did they say?
Well, I tease my now 7-year-old. I have 2 sons. They are 10 and 7. Their names are Larry and Harry. They are both named after grandfathers. I didn't set out to have kids with rhyming names. But I do joke that if I ever got a dog, it would be Barry. But I tease my 7-year-old because we both had the same dream, which was to ride on a garbage truck. And I tease my 7-year-old that I beat him to the dream. And my sons are super excited. They have known that I've worked in the city for a long time. They're really proud of it. School, when they work on projects, like one of them did one about me, which I thought was like super flattering in my career. And they're used to this with me.
Thank you, everybody. This is a great event. I want to
Thank you so much.
everybody for coming here today.
What a great hour. Thank you, Jose. So good.